I went up to the attractive woman I always saw on the train, who was holding a white cane. She tensed, then turned her face to me as I plucked up the strength to speak to her. I never would have predicted the startling response that came out of her mouth. The man who was bothering her turned out to be the same one who was causing me a lot of problems at work. I happened to be there when it happened. I'm generally hesitant and lack confidence, but I felt I couldn't just watch. I plucked up the strength to tell her I was sorry. She must be blind or visually challenged because she is holding a white cane. How could you possibly harm someone in that way? You raised your hand against her, and I saw it. I'm 41 years old, and my name is Benjamin. My employer, Foster Foods, runs well-known cafes around the nation, including Roasting Village and Foster Beans. Fortunately, I was recently acknowledged for my efforts and given the position of leader of the new product development team for the next year. I shouldn't feel this way at my age, but I'm not the most self-assured person. Even though I've known for some time that I need to change, this new opportunity made me think, this is my chance to really turn things around. I'm not very close to my coworkers at the moment. I thought I'd start by strengthening the bonds within our product development team and getting to know my teammates better, because I always feel a little out of place and reluctant to join the group. Is it just me, or does the fact that I'm still unmarried make me feel excluded? No, I don't believe it to be true. I had someone once too. Sarah, who was 3 years older than me, was the woman I vowed to marry. She would claim that, like a loyal future wife, I would bring out her nurturing side and force her into my life. I was in my 20s at the time, and I wasn't too bothered. One day, she abruptly requested to end the relationship. You simply aren't trustworthy enough. I don't sense any genuine affection from you, and you're constantly passive. I became concerned about getting married to you. I was astonished by what she said. I had assumed that we would get married without any issues, but she abruptly changed her mind. Sarah became even more dissatisfied upon witnessing my clumsy response and departed. I've struggled ever since to get over my uneasiness around ladies, or actually humans in general. The department's employees frequently go out to eat or drink together after work, but I always go straight home alone. I return to my apartment after an hour-long train ride. It's the only spot where I can really unwind. I am one of 5 people on our new product development team. Our department leader, Henry, requested that we concentrate on creating new desserts and pleasant cold beverages as summer draws near. I want to live up to Henry's expectations as the selected team leader. I was prepared to put my all into it, but nearly at once, something went wrong. Benjamin's desperation is excessive. It's really awkward. Kevin, a member of my team, is open about his distaste for me. Even though he's always making fun of me, I want to cooperate with everyone now that I'm in charge. I ignored his remark and addressed the gathering. Let's work hard on this new product development. The group looked at one another with a knowing look. I ended up bending my head a little because I felt uncomfortable. Oh, I see. Anticipating it. They all started laughing at my contrite manner. Friendly laughter didn't feel like it. They seemed to be laughing at me more than anything else. My aims were becoming more and more misguided. This is not good. A leader such as he. Kevin mumbled, "No thanks," so I could hear him. I was embarrassed that I was unable to come up with a response to his hurtful remarks. He then began to absolutely shun me. Even when I welcomed him, he blatantly displayed his animosity and disregarded me. Finally, the day came for our team's first presentation. I'll be in the meeting room on the 3rd floor, so please gather there. I called out and headed there ahead of everyone. I wondered what ideas everyone would bring. Excited, I set up the tea in the meeting room and waited. But even after 15 minutes, no one showed up. Thinking something might have happened, I went to check, only to find the 4 of them still seated at their desks, chatting away. At first, I thought they were just enjoying themselves until I realized it was a session of badmouthing me. Man, making us all gather in the meeting room. What a drag. The others chuckled. I felt a pang of quiet hurt. Benjamin's usually so dull and gloomy, and now he's suddenly all gung-ho. It's exhausting just watching him. Remarks like that started coming up too. Is that really how they see me? The pain made me quietly withdraw. Since that day, I've been losing sleep, constantly thinking about how I can get along with everyone. One day after work, I decided to take the plunge. If you're free, would you like to grab a drink? I'd love to get to know everyone better, I suggested, proposing a social outing. Everyone looked at me. Maybe this could work. There's a new place nearby that serves great seafood. How about we go there, have some good food, and have an open chat? That's what we call drinking harassment, Kevin responded with a cold stare. I tried to explain that wasn't my intent, but he wouldn't listen. Oh well, we don't have to drink. Just enjoying a good meal together is fine too, right? Silence filled the air. No one agreed. Feeling defeated, I grabbed my bag. Well, I'll think of another idea sometime. I bowed my head and left the office, sighing at how poorly things were going. Then, on the train ride home, I stumbled upon something shocking. A message notification popped up on my free chat app, so I opened it casually. It was from one of the team members. Having a great time with the team, read the message with a photo of everyone. But me, looking happy together. A classic wrong recipient message. The place was, of all places, that seafood restaurant I had suggested. So, they really do dislike me. I slumped in disappointment. The shock was too much. The next day, I stopped Kevin to try and talk. Predictably, he ignored me, so I turned to Kimberly, the member who had accidentally sent the message. Look, I know it's awkward to ask, but I can't figure out why everyone seems to hate me. If there's something I can fix, I'd really like to know. Could you tell me? Maybe she felt sorry seeing how desperate I was, so Kimberly spoke in a low voice. Her tone made it clear she was angry. I think Kevin has every right to be upset. It's because of things like that you lose everyone's trust. I had no idea what she meant, so I just stared blankly at her. Benjamin, you're seducing girls in their 20s, aren't you? I mean, you pretend to be all quiet, but there's talk that you're actually a pretty shady guy. What girls in their 20s? Me? No way. I'd never do something like that. It seemed like there was a huge misunderstanding. I desperately tried to explain that they had the wrong person, but no one believed me. After all, Kevin was confidently claiming he had evidence, so no one would even listen to my side. Evidence? What could he possibly have? At least now, I understood why people looked at me like I was some kind of creep, but I had no idea how to clear this up. I was at a loss. After gathering some information, I discovered the truth. Kevin has a much younger sister. Her boyfriend has the same name as me and lives in the same area. In other words, Kevin mistakenly believes his sister is dating me. I sighed deeply. His sister is still in her 20s, and if he thinks his sister's boyfriend is an unimpressive guy in his 40s like me, it's no wonder Kevin is upset. Apparently, he's strongly opposed to the relationship, but I have nothing to do with it. This is all just a misunderstanding. In fact, it's a nuisance. I need to explain this clearly. I set out to find Kevin and clear up the misunderstanding. Determined, I looked around the office for him, but he was nowhere to be found. Apparently, he was off stirring up more trouble. He had gone directly to Henry to make his case. I think Kimberly would be a better fit for team leader than Benjamin. She's popular with the team, and remember her coffee jelly creation that became such a hit. Compared to her, Benjamin has no track record and zero support. Henry looked troubled by what Kevin said. He replied that he'd think it over and urged Kevin to return to the office later. Henry called me in. You have to get the team together. I promoted you because I thought you could handle it. Don't let me down. Feeling defeated, I took the train home with a heavy heart. Then I remembered, It was Tuesday. Lately, there was something I looked forward to every Tuesday and Friday. A beautiful, fair-skinned woman with a white cane boards the same train car as me. For some reason, when there's an open seat, she always ends up sitting beside me. I don't know why she chooses to sit next to me each time, but really, any reason is fine. It simply makes me happy. She's like a breath of fresh air in my difficult daily life. I found myself wondering if I'd see her again today. Even though it's only 2 stops, just seeing her on those Tuesdays and Fridays lightens my mood a bit. The day of the second new product presentation arrived. I worried that no one would show up again, like last time, but this time Henry would be there, so at least they wouldn't boycott my idea. For a new iced coffee with mint chocolate flavoring, the reaction was ruthless. This is the worst thing I've ever tasted, and it's so off-putting. There's no way this will sell. The criticism was brutal. I chuckled bitterly at their harshness. Instead, Kevin's iced coffee paired with sweet bean jelly was praised as a masterpiece. The bitterness of the coffee and the cold, refreshing taste goes perfectly with the sweet red bean paste. This will be a hit for sure. Everyone echoed that sentiment. Henry looked at me with a disappointed expression. Then Kimberly, the team's hitmaker, presented her new dessert idea, an almond jelly parfait. This one also received high praise. After the presentation, Henry muttered, "Maybe I need to reconsider a few things." I felt completely sidelined. I regretted not being able to meet Henry's expectations. Would Kimberly end up taking over as the team leader after all? Maybe it would be better if I just stepped aside. On the train ride home, I was lost in thought when the woman with the white cane boarded. She sat down beside me, just like always. For some reason, I suddenly felt like talking to her, so I gathered my courage and spoke up. "You always sit next to me, don't you?" She flinched in surprise. "Can you actually see?" She tensed up, then turned her face toward me. To my shock, she responded with something I hadn't anticipated. "What do you mean by that? Are you suggesting I'm just pretending to have a disability?" She was visibly getting angrier. "Oh no, that wasn't my intention at all." I quickly apologized. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way." "But don't you realize how offensive that question was?" "You're absolutely right. That was thoughtless of me." Our exchange had drawn attention on the train. I decided to get off at her usual stop to continue apologizing. "There are people watching here, so I'll get off at the next stop. Please let me keep apologizing, if you don't mind. It's your usual stop after all." She gave a silent nod. Once we were on the platform, I launched into a desperate explanation. "Really, it wasn't that I doubted you or anything. It's just that you always sit next to me, and I couldn't help but wonder why. But I see now that I made you uncomfortable, and I'm truly sorry." I gathered every possible word of apology and kept apologizing to her. Gradually, her demeanor began to soften. "I understand. I overreacted too. I got a bit heated." Relieved, I exhaled deeply. "I'm Ashley," she introduced herself. I went ahead and gave my name as well. "I'm Benjamin." Her eyebrows raised slightly. "Oh, is something wrong?" "No," Ashley smiled. "Your question about why I always sit next to you, it's because of the scent." Surprised, I instinctively lifted my arm and took a sniff. I ended up making a loud sniffing sound, so she probably realized what I was doing. Ashley laughed softly. "It's not a bad smell. It's the sea aroma. I love coffee, and every time I sit next to you, there's this wonderful scent." I sighed in relief. I work for a company that operates coffee chains, actually. Places like Roasting Village and Foster's Beans. Oh, there's a Foster's Beans near my place. I'm quite the regular there. The tension in the air eased. Ah, thank goodness, I thought. That was the reason, and my question was answered. I was genuinely happy to talk to Ashley. I felt a bit giddy, But unfortunately, Kevin happened to witness this scene. Since he thought I was dating his sister, he flew into a rage. "Benjamin, you scumbag. I told you to stay away from my sister." He suddenly lunged at me, yelling. His loud outburst startled Ashley beside me, causing her to stumble. In his agitation, Kevin didn't even notice her white cane. He ended up bumping into her. Ashley fell to her hands on the floor, angry that she hadn't moved out of his way. Kevin started hurling insults at her. "What the hell are you doing?" I put a hand on Ashley's shoulder as she crouched on the floor. "Are you okay?" She sighed, relieved. "Yes." She looked pale. She must have been terrified. I glared at Kevin. That was uncalled for. Only then did Kevin notice her white cane. "Oh, so she's blind. Move out of the way. You should be taking the train when it's not crowded." I angrily rebuked him. "How can you say something like that?" "What was that?" We glared at each other. I had reached my limit. I didn't care if this got me removed from the team leader position or kicked off the team. This time, I was determined to say everything I had kept bottled up. I was furious that Kevin had insulted Ashley, who had nothing to do with this. Apologized to her. She's holding a white cane, meaning she has a visual impairment. How could you bring yourself to hurt someone like that? Oh, shut up. You pretend to be a feminist when it suits you, but you're just a sleazeball hitting on women. Don't you dare mess with my sister. I've tried to tell you many times that it's a misunderstanding. Why won't you listen? Kevin looked shocked that I was responding so directly. You're acting totally different. Usually, you're such a wimp, never saying a thing. I didn't think you could talk back like this. You're just trying to impress her because she's pretty, right? He shot a smug look at Ashley. I firmly told him that this was an entirely separate matter. It was true I had noticed her before, but now was not the time to be talking about that. You're mistaken, Kevin. I'm not the one dating your sister. I have proof. You said your birthday was on the weekend, didn't you? My sister also mentions celebrating her boyfriend's birthday on that same day. I hesitated, lost for words. With the same name, living in the same area, and sharing the same birthday, I could see how it all seemed like an unbelievable coincidence, even to me. Kevin scoffed. See? You can't even deny it, and now you're trying to go after this woman too. You just see my sister as an obstacle, don't you? Unforgivable. I don't know about the birthday, but I'm telling you there's nothing between me and your sister, or between me and Ashley. I don't trust you. Break up with my sister. I suddenly realized that everyone on the platform was watching us, and someone even asked, "Shall we call the station staff?" It was only natural that everyone was watching, given how loud the commotion had become. I felt my face flush. Just then, Ashley, who had been silent up until now, suddenly spoke up. That voice. I've heard it before. You're the brother of a friend of mine, aren't you? Kevin looked bewildered as she addressed him. My name is Ashley. My friend's name is Natalie. You're her brother, right? She had perfectly guessed Kevin's sister's name. His eyes widened in surprise. Yes, my sister's name is Natalie, but Kevin looked skeptical, tilting his head. Prove that you're actually her friend. Ashley gave a slight smile. Natalie talks like this, doesn't she? She began mimicking her. I couldn't tell, but it must have been a spot-on impression. Kevin looked astonished. She has this slightly babyish, nasal way of talking. It's a unique voice, hard to mimic, but you really got it right. I remember because I hear it all the time. Ashley looked a bit proud of herself. Then she added, I even have a photo. She showed her phone. It was a picture of her and Kevin's sister standing side by side. That's Natalie, I said. I see. But what kind of friend are you to her? All her friends are usually young and flashy. Kevin, arms crossed, asked her a question. Ashley was clearly older than his sister. In fact, She looked about the same age as Kevin himself. I met Natalie at an English conversation class. Although I can't see, I have an active personality and love trying new things. That's right. My sister loves traveling abroad, so she takes English classes. Kevin murmured. Now he understood that Ashley was indeed a friend of his sister's, but he was still puzzled as to how Ashley had recognized his voice. Ashley, where did you hear my voice, and how do you remember it? Do you really want to know? You're making this sound like an interrogation. Ashley grew exasperated with Kevin's persistence. Still, she kindly explained. Kevin's sister knows that Ashley has an exceptional sense of hearing, so when they communicate, she often uses various audio recordings. For example, she plays her own videos, like one from a beach trip. Ashley can hear the sound of waves, the ocean breeze, people's voices, and even the voices of her family members. Ashley gets to listen to these sounds firsthand, and then Kevin's sister adds explanations to help her understand. Natalie is very kind. She introduces me to so many new things. Apparently, some of those videos included her brother Kevin's voice. At this point, Kevin finally apologized to Ashley. I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were my sister's friend. That was rude of me, but I'm not apologizing to Benjamin. Kevin remained firm. This guy's been leading my sister on. That's absolutely not true, I insisted firmly. Kevin turned to Ashley. Ashley, have you ever heard anything about Natalie's boyfriend? Isn't it this guy? He asked, pointing at me. This guy is way too old to be messing around with a girl in her 20s. There's something really off about him, and he's my senior at work, a guy with no ambition and nothing respectable about him. Of course, as her brother, I'd be completely against it, Kevin declared. Ashley chuckled softly. What's so funny? Kevin asked. He's not Natalie's boyfriend, Ashley explained. I felt an immense wave of relief, unable to keep a smile from my face. But Kevin's frustration only grew. What? How would you know that? Kevin asked. The scent is different. The scent again. I was amazed by Ashley's incredible sense of smell. Wait, Ashley, have you actually met Natalie's boyfriend? Kevin asked, leaning in with interest. No, I haven't met him, she explained. But I know because I've met Natalie after their dates, and she had a lovely scent on her. My heart skipped a beat. A lovely scent? What could that mean? It was unmistakably the smell of shampoo or hair products. I'm sure her boyfriend is a hairstylist. But right now, both Benjamin and Kevin smell like coffee. Kevin was taken aback. Amazing. I find the smell of coffee comforting, so that's why I always sit next to Benjamin. He's been wondering why, but I knew from the start that he worked at a coffee chain. So, I can say with confidence that this is a case of mistaken identity encouraged by Ashley's reliable testimony. I felt a surge of courage, having witnessed Ashley's incredible abilities. Kevin was momentarily speechless. Plus, Natalie often confides in me about her struggles with you, Ashley continued. She's been worried, saying that recently, you two have been fighting a lot. She's concerned because you two were once so close. She wonders if it's her fault for causing you trouble. What Natalie said caused Kevin and me to both feel a pang of emotion at her words. Hey, Ashley, sorry for the wait. To our surprise, it was none other than Kevin's sister, Natalie, who appeared. Huh? What are you doing here, big brother? Kevin stammered. Well, what's going on? Ashley smiled. It turned out she had planned to meet Kevin's sister today. What a coincidence. Kevin was flustered and at a loss for words. Meanwhile, his sister casually dropped a surprising revelation. Yeah, dating an older guy just didn't work for me. We broke up. What? With Benjamin here? Kevin pointed at me. This time, it was Natalie's turn to look surprised. Ha, who's this? I've never seen him before. See, right? I said. Natalie, we're complete strangers, aren't we? Yeah, pretty much, she replied casually. Kevin turned beet red and bowed deeply to me. I'm so sorry. Hearing the whole story, Natalie also apologized for the trouble her brother's misunderstanding had caused me. What were you even thinking, big brother? My bad. My ex's name is Benjamin, yes, but that's just the name he uses for work. His real name is different. It's a trend among star hairstylists to use alternate names. I glanced at Ashley. Her face lit up as she spoke, so Natalie's ex really was a hairstylist. Sorry, Ashley. I hadn't mentioned it, but it doesn't matter now. We broke up anyway. Big brother, Kevin said, seeing the stern look on his sister's face. Begging you to take out your frustrations on others because of me, that's the worst. I'm disappointed in you. But birthdays and everything. It was such a rare coincidence. I really thought it was Benjamin, so persistent. I couldn't have celebrated with him on his actual birthday. He has weekdays off, remember? Oh, right. When it came to his sister, Kevin seemed to lose all common sense. I was just worried. Don't talk to me anymore, she snapped. Kevin, elbowed aside by his sister, looked utterly dejected. Ashley and I watched, unable to hold back our laughter. Kevin looked completely defeated after being cut off by his sister. Then a shocking revelation surfaced within the new product development team. The iced coffee with sweet bean jelly that Kevin had presented turned out to be a copy of a competitor's product. Henry was furious and removed Kevin from the team. Rumor had it he'd be transferred to a subsidiary in the next round of reassignments. Kevin lost his confidence and became a completely different, much gloomier person. Once the center of attention, he now spent his time in a corner of the office, with copier or maintenance as his only real task. As for my new creation, the mint chocolate-flavored iced coffee, since that incident, Ashley and I had grown closer, and she helped me come up with an improved version. We added a scoop of mint chocolate ice cream to the iced coffee. Through trial and error, adjusting the blend and roast of the coffee beans, we arrived at a fresh new taste. With Ashley's encouragement, I finally worked up the courage to present it. Wow, this is actually really good. Even Kimberly, the team's hitmaker, gave it her stamp of approval. Henry complimented me with a nod, saying, "Well done." The new drink was soon approved to be launched as a product at Foster Beans. When I shared the news with Ashley, she was thrilled for me. Though it had been a bumpy road, the misunderstandings with my team were finally cleared up, and we were working together in a positive atmosphere. And now, my goal is to create a coffee that someday Ashley herself might call her favorite.